Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Mythic Cup. I have got a fabulous co-caster with me today. Say hello to the people, Yosh.
Hello, I was supposed to produce an intro segment, but I don't know how to do those. We are finally finishing up the trilogy. Me and Brightwing casted in the Rare Cup. We did see Luca and Brightwing pick it up in the Epic Cup, and now we're finally meeting Luca on the second channel for the Mythic Championship. And today we're watching Hype versus pepeMLADY. pepeMLADY actually on a little bit of a downswing this season. They have finished the regular season second in their division and only took third in their group, which is a little bit of a sad point for them. But, you know, they do still get in the playoffs because Mythic Championship has a little bit of a different tournament structure, and they still get their chance at the crown. As for now, the teams are in the lobby. We do have our draft for the maps already with a bunch of map bans. Some of them I like a little bit more than the others, but we did have the map draft start with Hype banning out Sky Temple. Towers of Doom was the response from pepeMLADY, while Hype have chosen to take away Cursed. Tomb of the Spider Queen was our final ban, and Battlefield of Eternity is the maps that we're gonna be seeing. I don't think I've actually casted a Battlefield of Eternity in the last few weeks,
Ooh,
which will definitely be interesting.
well, I like a little bit of BOE. It's a nice map. You get a little bit of fighting, you get a little bit of objective, and you get a little bit of pushing. And it's nice, clearly defined segments. I know what's going to happen next. It's very clean, very enjoyable, I think.
And yet it's still rather interesting to see how the teams will play it and how the teams will draft it, because you can draft around the team fights, or you can just go full on race and try to force down the objective before you get killed.
That is very true. Looks like we're ready to start into our first game though, Yosh. Right, no, I got baited.
I mean, look. It's not perfect system. The players might be good, but they still like having fun, and we did have a last second sub from Hype or something along those lines. An A prodigy is what they say about Yara Yaridaze, which apparently is an anime reference, but I don't know. So yeah, draft, Battlefield of Eternity. Can expect a lot of things. People in a Mythic Championship do not like picking the same heroes, so there are no really big patterns, but they do like banning specific things. We did have 15 bans of Imperials from pepeMLADY, who are playing on the right, and they're banning out the Garage. And on the left we have Hype, who have banned the Diva a lot, so that might be something to look at.
It might be indeed, Yosh. You do see a lot more variety as you move up into that Mythic Cup. The players tend to have much wider hero rosters. There's not a lot of heroes that aren't really available to them, so the drafts can start to think about what applies best to this map, as opposed to just what do I fancy playing at the moment, or what hero can I in fact play. But these Garrosh bands, the Imperious bands, they're pretty standard for this sort of a rotation. It's what you would expect to see. The tank focus, especially at the upper end, it's not too shocking, Yosh.
Which is interesting to notice how the meta differs in the lower divisions. In the Epic Cup and the Rare Cup, we saw a lot of focus on the bruised, on the offlaners, trying to ban out your divas, your Gazlows. And up here, we're just trying to take away the tanks and characters that we will generally consider annoying. But there are a few different pointers to why that is happening. First of all, as you have mentioned, the level of play is very different, and people can execute a lot better, and the tank is usually the one who forces the execution, and good tank can pretty much win the game just on his own, just by shot calling and finding the good pickoffs. On the other hand, we also had a meta shift. We had medallions removed this week, which I think will take a little bit, or actually quite a major impact on the draft, knowing that in high divisions people have been using the medallion a lot.
Yeah, unfortunately for all of you guys that were saving your medallions for next game, Next game is past. It's gone. You've lost it. But, you know, these players definitely used all the medallions they could in the time they had them available, Yosh. And now we're stepping forward into this brave new old world of post-medallion times.
Redemption.
We do see a Johanna alongside the Cassia on the left, going for a little bit of a fighty setup as for me, with the Cassia's damage not really too suited to deal with Immortals. On the other side, we do however have a Hanzo and a Li Min. Very pokey, very poke from the backline setup, just sitting far in the distance, not being reachable by anyone, and just taking damage at the Immortal or at the enemy team.
It's quite a nice little setup there. You get to play quite safely. You've got that dragon arrow for the engages for fights you need to force, and if your opponent doesn't ever try and force, you get that slow poke onto the Immortal. So it is going to go down eventually. Bans coming out onto that Zeratul. I think you're going to see bans on a Zeratul a lot today. It doesn't really feature that much in the lower divisions, but once you get right to the top, you'll see the Protoss often not making it all the way through the draft.
And I mean, that's kind of the beauty, because in lower divisions, picking up those high execution characters is definitely a team specific thing. Meanwhile, up there, people generally have enough. Okay, never mind, throw all of the analysis out the window. That's a butcher.
Well, I think Blank is known for his butcher. I believe Blank is known for his butcher.
I'll be honest, I'll leave you to decide that, because I'm definitely a little bit more of a lower divisions enjoyer,
like,
rather than an average.
I wouldn't claim to be the expert by any stretch, but I think that sentence in my head feels like one I've heard before. You know, I feel like someone else has told me, oh yeah, Blank Butcher. So we're gonna assume that this is a thing Blank has brought out before. Interesting that they don't want to hide it. They'd rather not show their final pick than not show the Blank Butcher. And maybe punished a little bit by that Arthur's Uther rotation.
I mean, you do want to counterpick the offlaner generally, and ETC seems like a tanky pick. Or you can just put the Butcher in the offlane and leave Sylvanas on the last pick, a very pushy character. Black Arrows can just set up a push out of nowhere. Very effective with the objective when you can just go on a different plane and do more damage than the Immortal would have done. And yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays. I like the Anduin pickup to just yeet Butcher out of danger if something like that happens.
Yeah, no, it's some quite nice setups going on there. Twitch chat has informed me that Blank is indeed a well-known Butcher griefer, so I did remember that vaguely correctly. If Yaya Days, oh, they've bloody swapped their picks and I wasn't paying attention. God damn you guys.
Imagine looking at what the teams are doing when you can just not do that. I have to point out that here Yaradaza's level is 163, which is a little bit lower than expected, but people have described him as an NA prodigy, so I'm just going to assume that he is known for playing on the Yaza server a lot, which is why his level on EU servers is not as high.
It's probably the case. Potentially quite early in the morning for him if he's rocking up to play now, though. I think it works out at about 6 AM in one of the 3 time zones. I don't really know how to convert it properly, but it's...
Well, time zones are a social construct anyway, so yeah.
The sun is potentially not yet up for him.
I find the idea of an Uther interesting on the side of pepeMLADY, because he does not produce a lot of healing per se, but he can just try and get the Butcher to stop doing damage.
Does look like it's a shut down the Butcher.
Is one way of preventing it.
That's the logic there. It'll be interesting to see if with this heavy frontline focus on the Butcher, Sylvanas and the Light Bomb from the Johanna Falling Sword are going to be able to put a lot of damage into that backline. Hype along
Well,
the butcher. Oh,
we
Yosh,
do
no.
seem to be getting into the game, so...
Ah, indeed. And I can tell you that, ladies and gentlemen, on the left side, playing for hype, we have got a pause. Yosh is DC'd.
We have got a pause. I have DC'd, I have come back. That's an issue that has happened in the last few patches, just
Yeah,
getting yoinked out of the game as soon as it loads in.
standard stuff.
Does not matter much in the end because I'm already back in the game and
Looks like we've also lost Blank though, so...
now that's a bit more of an issue. But on the other hand, Butcher is kind of going to be AFK for the first few minutes of the game before he gets his stacks going. Because otherwise, you're just gonna punish the Butcher and make sure that he will never get to his power spikes. Because a Butcher without his stacks is looking kind of weak.
Definitely the case. You are looking to build him into those stats to get that damage out. Although Lamb to the Slaughter is an incredible ultimate in of itself, so there is definitely some value that he brings to the team fights. If you can combo that Lamb with all of the Sylv Cassia burst, you should be able to pick up a kill on a lot of targets. Especially good into that Arthas and that Uther, silencing them, not allowing them to use their self-sustain.
See some counterplay to him. We do have the block party from the EDC already. Also, we do see the W quest from the Uther, which is the one that looks quite interesting to me because it takes quite a bit to stack. It does not provide you too much mana, but the point of getting that quest and point of getting that quest done is you increase the passive armor that you are given with your abilities to your teammates for the duration of it for 0.5 seconds, which does not sound like much, but against the Butcher it can mean the difference. I'm going to assume that level 20 taunt will also be picked, which gives 50 armor for the duration of the passive.
Get some nice synergy there. That's an interesting point about the Lamb to the Slaughter into the Uther, but in the on the left side you have 3 separate single target poke tools, right? Potentially you've got the Valkyrie, you've got the Mind Control, and you've got the Lamb. And so Uther's got 1 Divine Shield and he's got 1 Cleanse, and that doesn't make 3. So potentially we'll see one of those pop off at least each fight. Plus you've got obviously the Light Bomb Falling Sword, which I hope we're going to see here.
You can try to upgrade Divine Shield on level 20, which allows you to Divine Shield your entire team.
That's a good point,
and
actually.
just go in and kill people. But on the other hand, you only get so many level 20s to choose from. In fact, just 1.
It's very true. Interesting little counter interaction between the level 20 Lamb to the Slaughter and that level 20 Divine Shield, isn't it? You get the big AoE Lamb, and then they get the big AoE D Shield, and you're kind of sad. But if you ever hit Uther, you kind of win the fight.
Unfortunately, you are a little bit late for the interaction that was last week. Today we're looking at the Mythic Championship, the best that Here's Launch can offer, or so people keep saying for some reason. People seem to be ready, which means that I guess it's time to introduce the teams once again.
It looks like it is, and on the blue side, playing for hype, we have got Halicone on the Cassia, Blank on the Butcher, Yaya Days subbing on the Johanna, Nox on the Anduin, and Hlopka on the Sylvanas.
And on the right for pepeMLADY, we have the Wilq on ETC, Ridzu SA on Arthas, Dealer playing as the Uther, Stojo on Hanzo, and Gore Rider picking up the Liming. And I find it interesting that both teams are trying something different from the general level 1 meta on Battlefield of Eternity.
Looks like they're having some interesting rotations. This is the Sylvanas factor. I think you never know where Sylvanas is going to end up, and so the red team has to 5-man to mid to make sure they are ready to respond to it, and the blue team has to work out where they want to put their Sylvanas. And they decided to have a go at top. They got half the wall. It wasn't half the tower. Wasn't an awful trade, but now we kind of reset and we get that 1-4 split going on.
I mean, half a tower does not mean much, but oh, never mind, actually, we do have an engagement with Sylvanas, and that's why you ban out those tanks, because a tank can just make sure that the target is locked down, and once the target is locked down in the Mythic Championship, the level of coordination between the teammates means that sometimes you don't even get to move again until you are walking out of the base.
It was very nice little engage found there by the will Q onto that Sylvanas, and this kill will net them that bottom push camp. So a little bit of extra XP from that camp cap, a little bit of XP from the kill, slight lead coming out for pepeMLADY, but nothing for Hype to be too scared of just much.
Yes, indeed, you can turn the game back at literally any point, and the later in the game it gets, the easier it is. You just have to win a teamfight, which doesn't sound that hard, right?
Easy peasy. Just win 20 fight, easy. Just wipe them.
Lol. How can someone not win a fight at level 20? We do have another power slide on top of Halcyon. This time around will not actually be followed up, but Blank is actually rotating to the bot lane in search of kills and meat. Unfortunately, there's a callout, the team recognizes it and falls back safely, gets the resets on the ETC and continues taking down the waves.
Nice little try there from the Butcher, but red team had minimap DLC installed and the rotation won't get any value, and now we set up I think for our bruiser camps. The blue team looks like Sylvanas is going to use this window to try and get this pick off onto Arthas though. This is...
Ooh, that one looks a lot better because, I mean, you do go for the bruiser camp, which means that there will be people who are not seen on the map, and you will just be safely assuming that people are going for the bruiser camp. But no, that's a rotation up top. Unfortunately, Arthas a little bit too tanky to take down that early into the game, but that allows Hello Paka and Blank to go for the siege camp up top and set up a little bit of counterplay to that bruiser camp.
It does indeed, and now that should help them de-push this wave out to their fort. But down here, pepeMLADY doing their best to get this damage out onto the Immortal. The Hanzo Li Ming folks so strong here. But it's going to be a relatively safe half-time show for them, gosh.
It's already at halftime, and there's not a lot of damage done by the blue team. Hype are definitely not quick enough yet, and now they just commit to the race because you know that you can't defend for much, you can't defend for long, but on the other hand you do have the Johanna and you do have the Butcher Factor who can just go in and set up a quick kill like we see on the Hanzo right here. The team fight is definitely starting to brew up. Rudzu loses a lot of HP to the Sylvanas, but in the end we do see that the Ming is just sitting over the wall, poking out the Immortal slightly, ability by ability. A quick Q there, a W there. The Q is actually even better than the W because the Q you can't even take. But on the other hand, we do have another Butcher engage. We do have the Sylvanas going in, killing the Limin and getting stunned, but here comes the Anduin pull back. While that is happening, however, Hanzo will just get down the Immortal and hit one. And that one goes into the pool of pepeMLADY.
Here comes the Butcher again, charging onto the ETC. The blue team don't really want to back up. They want to find more kills here to stack this Butcher. And looks like in the end they are going to have to retreat now. The kill just not quite being on Blank. Going to have to swap for Sylvanas to get that lane soaked in. pepeMLADY are going to hound them all the way back to their fort here.
And Hype has got a bunch of kills, has got a little bit of meat on the Butcher, but they do not have any mana, and that's not too great if you're trying to just keep defending, keep clearing out that objective, because I think the fort is going to fall here. Or at least it can, but there comes the engage, and nope. The red team just drops it and walks back.
On this map, usually the goal is just to take down the front wall, because it's very easy to walk up to a fort and sack it when you get some sort of rotational advantage, but walls are just a lot harder to safe siege. They have 2 towers shooting instead of 1, there's a lot less space, and you can't see your opponent coming until they come through that gate. So now that fort's only half health, I'm sure we will see at some point pepeMLADY walk up to it and take it out. In fact, here it comes now. This is just a lot easier for them to do this final half of the fort. than it would normally be to siege. The response in the bottom side, Sylvanas and the Butcher, taking down this front wall with the huge wave that they have going, and now they want to keep pushing. Butcher wants to take out the well.
We do see that pepeMLADY have finished with the fort and are now moving down. We do have the Uthra with his quest almost stacked because there were so many people crowded up in those teamfights. Sylvanas is gonna get slowed, gonna get forced down, and so will the Cassia. Two quick pickups for pepeMLADY. And Hanzo does get those kills. We do see that the teams are actually quite equal in the experience, but the red team does get a slight lead.
Slight overextension there by Hype getting punished, but it's a relatively even game nonetheless, even with those 2 kills being picked up. But both sides should have level 10 for the majority of this upcoming Immortal phase, so let's see what they choose to do with it.
Well, they will choose not to do the camp, neither team in fact. We do see Rudzu being the target of this engage, and his team is actually a little bit further up than he wanted, but there comes the team, and the engage is dropped yet again. Paka gonna jump out of Wilkew's power slide, and as both teams get level 10, we do have the Divine Shield on those.
Very disappointingly, not gonna be falling sword action, just going for the Blessed Shield, but with that Blessed Shield into Sylvanas' Wailing Arrow, that's a lot of CC in a big area if the enemy team chooses to clump up, and it's going to be very difficult for them to fight into this.
And you also have Lamb to the Slaughter, which at level 20 can just cover this entire area and catch everyone. But we do see that Hype have used all of their ultimates on the first engage, which means that now it's up to pepeMLADY to bring something up. Hanzo walks forward, unfortunately walks a little bit too far forward and gets Lamb to the Slaughter. And now the teamfight continues. Johanna falls down the power slide, the mosh pit will be there. Butcher is going to die alongside the Cassia. Some mid stacks have been dropped. Nox is looking to be the next target while Flowpaka gets out safely. And yes indeed, that's a 4-man wipe by pepeMLADY.
So a nice initial engage there by Blank onto the Hanzo, but the overchase into the Beaming Resets allowed the red team with pepeMLADY to really just pick up all of the kills there. But Sylvanas, meanwhile, on this bottom side, has been able to take down the fort, so not a completely lost fight for the blue team.
He's now being chased down by the EDC, but Sylvanas does have that E to just get her out safely. Wilkie will just have to go and clean up the wave before joining the team, because Blank is back again and he's killing the Uther. The light bomb is used to stun the EDC and the Arthas, and both of them will be wailing arrowed into silence. Arthas is killed. The EDC will follow suit. Yes, indeed.
Nicely done there by Hype, picking up those 2 kills as pepeMLADY maybe overstayed slightly in order to pick up that Immortal.
It is still an Immortal, but unfortunately without the team to push it, Hype are free to just clear it out as quickly as possible without much trouble. Still takes down the wall, still will do a bunch of damage to the fort, which will allow pepeMLADY to maybe take it down later, as we saw with the top fort.
We see that Butcher though, 184 stacks. He is so close to being able to finish this quest, and he's got his Lamb to the Slaughter ready. Hanzo, yeah, gonna have to rotate out of that one.
And once Butcher gets his quest done, that's a big power spike for Hype, and I'm pretty sure that after taking this wave down and getting his stacks finished, Butcher is going straight downwards to the team. The Dragon Arrow misses there, Yara does, presses the Iron Skin, and then Johanna walks out. Aha, classic. Being yoinked out by the Endwin, as well as we did see that Rudzu almost hit his W here.
It's a shame that we see that Blessed Shield used, because the re-engage isn't really as much of an option now. Instead, Blank and the Sylvanas just going to go topside and try and trade forts with the 5-man of the red team.
Well, Butcher has a lot of damage, Sylvanas has a lot of black arrows, just turning off that fort, which does prove to be a solid combination, as the forts are indeed just trading for each other, and the 5-man of pepeMLADY not having enough impact on the game as this cheeky 2-man rotation approach. And looks like everyone is actually moving up top. We do see. No, never mind. It's just a bruiser camp rotation because the next immortals are gonna be up soon.
They will indeed be, and Hype have started to pull a little bit of an XP lead out here. Gosh, it's been going quite well for them. Not looking so strong in the early game. Now this Butcher is stacked especially. These fights are going to be quite strong for them. So excited to see what they're going to be able to pull out.
Are a little bit behind in the kills, but they are equal on the lanes in the structure department, and they have been soaking a lot with the Butcher because you do need to get those meat stacks to get your quest done, which does make it a little bit of an extra motivation to go and soak those lanes to get that experience, which is quite important because once you get to level 16, that might be a power spike that you want to fight with. However, as for now, both teams not quite willing to go and fight, just soaking up for those levels. And finally, we do see pepeMLADY go for that early push on the Immortal.
They do appear to have the position they want, but we're fighting top to bottom here with Hype coming down into pepeMLADY. Sylvanas with the aggressive rotation is going to be able to dodge out. She's diving deep. D-Shield comes down and protects ETC from that Lamb to the Slaughter. The mosh pit won't land on anyone, but Li Ming able to pick off the two assassins of Hype, and this will net the halftime show comfortably over to pepeMLADY.
Both arrows miss, but that doesn't matter much because we do see that in the teamfight, people will eventually get low on HP, and when people get low on HP, that Ming will just be able to go, blink, get the kill, get the reset, blink again, and just obliterate the entire enemy team.
Li Ming is one of the assassins that sees the most play in the Mythic Championship, and this is why she's just so powerful in these fights where you can get that first reset, and on a player who can land all of those skill shots accurately and get the maximum damage out from her combos, she can do so much to a team.
And with that two-man wipe, which may not sound like much, but later in the game when you can just fight 5v3 and get that advantage rolling even further, we do see that Hype did not want to go and race, and now they have to face against an almost full shield Immortal, which is walking straight into the keep wall. The wall will die, the keep will probably die as well, but I don't think it's a power attempt yet.
No, this shouldn't go too much further than the keep unless pepeMLADY can actually find picks. It doesn't look like they're even going to be able to step up too much here for the keep at all. There's an engage here from the Sylvanas, looking to start a fight behind this Immortal. We're just going to go in here onto the Wilkie. The Lamb to the Slaughter comes down, and that will be first blood in this fight. Is there going to be a counter kill? What have we got? It looks like the Divine Shield's going to be used to deny that light bomb. The keep goes down for pepeMLADY, but Hype, they want more. They're looking for blood. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to find it here.
I actually quite like this idea from Hype. You do have your keep falling down anyway. You do have the shield on your core, which is 50% of the HP of the core, so you can go and try and find a kill. You can go and try and find a fight, but now you are actually taking core damage, which is not optimal, honestly. I also quite like the Sylvanas' position at the start of the fight. She just went past the enemy team, knowing that she will be able to blink out of danger if need be. Just being annoying, clearing out that wave, poking out that backline, and diverting the attention of the enemy team away from that keep and maybe even the core.
It's an unfortunate amount of damage to come onto your core here as well. I like the theory, but here the shield comes through onto Arthur's. Not going to want to let me talk. The stun, the mosh pit coming down, but the Butcher's going to cancel it. Now pepeMLADY have to retreat. The arrow lands onto 3. That should be enough to get pepeMLADY out here as they trade this damage, but the Wilkie falling so low. Stun and the root, and it looks like he is going to be saved. Is there going to be any more? Sylvanas pops her trait. They want to take down this fort wall. Keep wall maybe, but no. Just going to back it up now. Looks like the kills won't be coming for them.
And Hype are trying so hard to get anything done, but unfortunately they will just not be able to do it. We do see the Lamb to the Slaughter hit on the Hanzo, however, and that's a kill. That's a start to the fight. we do see that most of the resources on the side of pepeMLADY are actually out. We do have the Mosh Pit, we do have the Divine Shield, and that seems to be it. Let's not forget that medallions are out, you can't save yourself easily from those blank engage attempts. And now you just get to watch as your keep falls down, sitting 5v4 or 4v5, but we do see the Blast Shield miss, and that means that there might be some kind of an opportunity. Unfortunately, Hype will just take down the keep and run away.
Nice little bush gank there from Hype, the Hanzo. Just a little bit too aggressive in his rotation, but speaking of aggressive, ETC is so deep here. Divine Shield gonna have to be used. The Mosh Pit comes down, only gonna land on Cassie, who will get gripped out though. The Will Q trying to force that fight before Hanzo, but here comes the arrow. It's going to miss though, sailing on by, and the red team meanwhile have caught this Cassia in the Arthurs, and the Butcher charging in trying to save her, but now he's just in the middle of all of them again. Looks like Li Ming going to put out as much damage as she can, but Sylvanas going to chase her down, and Ming will be the second hero to fall in this fight. Blank's Butcher running away as hard as it can, looking for this counter engage though onto Uther. This is 3v2, and second kill goes over there, but meanwhile the Sylvanas getting picked up by Hanzo and the Uther, and now pepeMLADY return, and they pick up this double kill on the Butcher and on Johanna, and that again is going to see them getting this halftime show in the Immortal Rush.
We do have 20 seconds until the Cassia respawns, and it makes me wonder, on one hand, Hype can't really fight, because they will be fighting 2v3 at the least, and we do see that the reinforcements will be coming out quicker for pepeMLADY than for Hype. But on the other hand, if you don't fight for it, the Immortal will just go into your keep, take down your keep, and take an even bigger chunk out of your core. Fortunately for them, pepeMLADY do not like to overstay and just back out.
Looks like they're going to reset ready for this fight, and so there will be a window. There might be a window where they can fight, but it looks like the Immortal is going to go over first, so Hype gonna have to find some sort of a Hail Mary play here as the arrow comes out onto Happy Clap. That's not onto Cassia. That's not gonna land. Sorry, a little bit of the old Div 2 shot calling coming through there, or Legendary Cup from yesterday.
Imagine being in the Legendary Cup, am I right?
Couldn't be.
Anyway, we do have the Immortal being taken down by the red team. We do see the Bruisecam being taken alongside to reinforce that push and make it even stronger. And now pepeMLADY don't even have to do that much, they just need to make sure that their big objective thing is not dead before it gets to the core, and then you can just force down the core.
But meanwhile, as this fight goes on in the bottom side, there are 5 catapults building up, but Uther,
but there's
what happened? He is popped, but the Mosh Pit comes out onto the Butcher. Nice light bomb is going to deny that, and now Li Ming already
engaging the Kenzo. This game is so back and forth.
Look at Li Ming now, she's already gone. She's already given up on this fight, and she just wants to hit the core. Gore Rider is coming in. Those catapults are going to lock on, but Johanna will be able to pick them up before the shield falls, and Gore Rider goes down here as well. It's going to be 3 kills going over to Hype, and this Immortal might not be able to do enough. The Will Q trying to make as much space for it as he can, but he's going to go down.
The Death Mosh is coming out.
Is it going to be enough? 29%. 2 more swings we're going to need, and no, we will not
20.
get them. 20%.
Cleans the waves, and Hype stay alive, but they stay alive against the wall, and I'm not even sure if they can even actually go and just finish the game outright, because we do have the Uther spawning in 5 seconds. He can do some amount of damage, he can be some amount of annoying, and buy some amount of time before the Hanzo spawns in and even tries to do something more. However, it is going to be the attempt, because Hype does not have many other options. Their core is pretty much dead as soon as the enemy team decides to push. We do see the Divine Shield coming out from Uther, but the shielding on the core is already down 70% on the core. Stojo trying to do a lot of damage, kills the Cassia, but I don't think it will be enough as the core is on 10%, and that's going to be game number 1 by Hype.
Nicely played there by Hype. pepeMLADY just going a little bit too anxious to end out that game, not able to convert that final fight, and unfortunately leaving their enemy's core on 20%. Nice little game.
On one hand, On one hand, Li Ming has absolutely made the right call because you are going for the core, you need to get the core down, and it almost worked out. On the other hand, Li Ming has abandoned the teamfight, making it a 4v5, which unfortunately did not go well in the slightest for pepeMLADY. If they were able to keep the fight going in for longer, or just kept the Ming in the teamfight and won it straight up, it would have been a win for pepeMLADY, but unfortunately, with the Ming away from the teamfight and the team being split, and Hype being able to stomp over pepeMLADY quickly in the teamfight to get back to base to defend it, divided we fall, and divided pepeMLADY have fallen. They do still have one map to redeem themselves, and I'm actually quite interested to see what will come out.
Looks like it's going to be Volskaya Foundry, picked up by pepeMLADY, so we can have another quick little look at the maps. We can see bans coming out. Oh, Hype versus Wilkie. Bans coming out on the side of Hype. They have removed Sky Temple and Cursed Hollow and picked up that BOE game that they won on pepeMLADY. Banning out Tales of Doom and Tomb of the Spider Queen have picked up this Volskaya Foundry game for us. So then, Yosh, what do you think? What are we expecting here from our Volskaya Foundry adventure?
Well, I'm hoping to see some action outside of my window, but on the other hand, Volskaya Foundry is a very fighty map. There will be a lot of brawling, on top of the objectives, and there will be a lot of macro play nonetheless, because you do need to take those pickups, you do need to take those turrets as soon as they spawn, because every single pickup will make your team fights that much stronger, will make your team fights that much better. And I'm expecting a lot of team fighting, I'm expecting some team fighting on the objective, I'm expecting a lot of team fighting over the biotic emitter in the top part of the map. So should be quite interesting.
I'm sure we are going to see some nice fights coming out here. It's going to be interesting to see these two teams on Volskaya, because as we saw in BOE, they're both quite aggressive sides. They look for these big fights and they look to just get the lead early, but Volskaya is not a map that lends itself well to the early aggression. Often, any advantage you can get is not particularly strong and only tends to be that impactful if you can take that advantage when you get kills. So it's not always the correct call to make these Hail Mary contests, especially in the early game where 5 players can usually deal with a protector with a relatively little cost. Yosh.
Yeah, Volskaya Foundry is a very interesting map because, in my opinion, it is a little bit dominated by that objective, especially in the late game. Everyone knows that at level 20 or further, it just takes the objective, take down a keep, or maybe it just goes straight into the core and you don't care about what's happening on the map because you will get that core down before the enemy will be able to take you. And I'll be looking forward to it. The action will definitely intensify a lot more when we are going to be approaching that late game. So I'm looking to see a rather uneventful, rather equal early game into a very explosive, very fighty, very brawly late game where one fight will decide how the game will end.
I think we will definitely see this game coming down to a key level 20 fight. It's going to be interesting to see where the teams choose to make their last stand, though, because Objective Point C is one of the most bizarre places to fight in all of Heroes of the Storm, and quite a lot of teams are beginning to realise that they'd much rather give that third protector, try and get value elsewhere on the map, and then actually fight for the fourth protector in a fight that's fair, as opposed to having to engage through those silly conveyor belts. So be interesting to see where the decider for this game comes. Will the winning side be able to pick up such a lead that Objective Point C is a required contest, or alternatively, will they just will the game be close enough that we'll see that fourth and maybe even fifth protector come out for the teams?
I also have to point out that the map was chosen by the side of pepeMLADY. Usually people prefer going for the first pick, and going for the map pick means several things for the draft. First of all, you do get two best heroes that your opponent lets you, because you do get the second pick and the third pick. And secondly, and in my opinion even more importantly, you do get that last pick so we can bring up some cheese on the table.
You definitely do get that final pick, which as hero pools get wider, as drafting gets more interesting and more thought through, the value of that last pick definitely increases. You don't see a lot of teams in the Rare Cup really picking out these showstopper picks right at the end, but here you can see that Zeratul slot in at the back half of the draft, or the Maiev pick that you didn't see coming really mess up that draft for you as we go into that draft, Yosh.
Ooh, drafting. Can't imagine what the teams will try to ban out. I think that pepeMLADY will continue trying to target ban the tank of Hype. So that shall be a point of focus from me personally. I think that there will be a Gersh. I think that there will be a... I don't remember what the second ban was, but I don't think there is much reason for pepeMLADY to switch up their drafting weapons.
I think we'll probably see similar ideas coming out here. We might see different tank focus as Diablo loses a bit of value on this map. The engages aren't as important, and maybe we'll see some late game power spike heroes being banned out because they don't want to play into them. That ETC, the Wilq, not going to be allowed to play his beefcake again. After game 1 they say no thank you, man.
And straight up a butcher ban. That's how you close down the doors. That's how you stop those late game power spikes. And now I'm expecting a Zul'jin ban as well, because yes.
Welcome to the Mythic Cup, ladies and gentlemen. Butcher first banned. Not going to play into that one again, apparently. They saw Blank do that once and they were like, right, that's enough.
Well, first game you let the butcher open because you think that you can counter it. Second game, you ban the butcher because you are not stupid. We do have the Diva ban from Hype, as the pick and ban is getting a little bit more spicy, a little bit more interesting compared to the first game, but I'm still expecting a lot of things to be happening there. On Battlefield of Eternity, the drafting is a little bit more formulaic in my opinion than on Volskaya Foundry, because Volskaya Foundry you're pretty much in free fall. You can't just fight, and that's the only thing that you pretty much care about, because a lot of issues with drafting like that is you don't have race on Battlefield of Eternity, and the absence of the race means that you can just go for the teamfight and go and try to find something interesting.
It's very true. We're going to see this Chromie first pick coming out though, and Chromie is a mage that's really liked in these higher divisions on maps like Volskaya Foundry. She's such a high damage output that when you get into these long drawn out fights she can really burst people down, and through her time traps and her slowing sands you get so much control over the fight that it makes the opponent's life very hard once you can establish position. But Johanna Cassia picked up again, but on the opposite side this time, Yosh.
I mean, Johanna and Cassia have won the game, so might as well. We do know that Chromie has actually been the hero that forced Kel'Thas out of the most banned pool in the Rare Cup, so Chromie is very solid, very strong, and with the medallions removed, you also have the temporal loop back on the table. On the other hand, we do have the Rexar and the Stukov picked up for Hype, so that's quite interesting to me. Not a lot of Rexar plays seen today. For me, not a lot of Rexar plays seen in the lower divisions, but in the Legendary Cup we have seen a bunch of Rexars both played and banned out throughout the day.
Not only is this interesting because of the Rexar pick, but Rexar has, of recent times, been able to slot into that 4-man as well as in the offlane, so we could be seeing Rexar take that role of the melee flex and get paired alongside another offlaner and a tank coming out from these last two picks, depending on what the teams want to pick up. And it's just occurred to me why they keep swapping their picks around, Yosh. It's because Yu Days probably doesn't own all the heroes, does he?
Oh my god.
So they're just getting him to pick a hero as soon as he can pick one, and then working around. This makes a lot of sense now. I thought they were just griefing me, but
I'm trying to think something up, like players just trying to mind games their opponents into assuming that they are trying to pick up a different composition based on the hero pools of specific players. But yeah, no, your explanations make a lot of sense. We do have a Li Ming alongside a Rhaegar this time around picked up on the right, so Butcher might be a good idea, but unfortunately he is banned, and I'm actually quite interested to see what Hype will choose to bring up.
The
As always.
Zeratul is still on the table. We could also see some sort of Deathwing. Okay. Well, I was expecting Deathwing to appear with a tank, truth be told. But, called it, ladies and gentlemen. Deathwing is indeed picked up.
Sure.
What a draft.
I'll count it. I'll count it.
What a
Sure.
draft.
Well, the Squishy Lizard has entered the Nexus and is going to be doing a lot of damage, especially if you are able to lock down your targets with a Slow Incense, with the a level 13 stun from the Stukov, with the extra stuns as well. That Q does a lot of damage if you skill into it, and that might be the plan that Hype are going into this game number 2 with.
It may indeed be their plan. As we just... Sorry, bit of production value coming out here for the channel.
Sounds like a threat. Irel being our last pick, an offlaner that I personally never think that she does a lot, but she always does a lot, whether I think that or not. She's just a good all-around pick, getting a lot of value here, getting a lot of value there, but not enough value to really scan in my brain, which is quite an issue for me, but not an issue for the RL players because they do recognize the value and they go for it. Also, I'm quite interested to see how the RL will deal with the Deathwings. I guess you don't really care about the Deathwing. If you're an RL, you just jump on the backline, you stun the Stukov out of the silence, you try to focus on the Rexer instead of the Misha.
That is probably the general idea we're looking for here. But as we head into game 2, Yash, it is time to meet our teams once again. And so, on the blue side, representing Hype, we have got Halicon on the Rexar, Blank on the Deathwing, Yaya Days on the Stukov, Nox on the Sylvanas, and Hlopka on the Chromie.
And in red, fighting for their survival because one game lost and they are out. We do have pepeMLADY with Dealer on Rhaegar, the Will Q, playing as the Chohana. Gore Rider picking up his Li Ming yet again. Rudzu SA on Irel and Stacho on Cassia. And I would like to point out that this time around the Li Ming did not go for Izawaka, preferring to go for the ability power talent.
I think Aether Walker is traditionally an adaptation you see a lot of on Battlefield of Eternity, Yosh. But it'll be interesting to see whether we see any further build adaptations coming out from her there, whether we're going to see a change into a more poke-based style, or sticking with that Calamity style for the big team fight reset swings.
And well, those teamfight reset swings can be quite important, and they can come up huge, especially considering that with Rexer you have one more target to reset from. In the offlane we do have Blank versus Ridzu, and Irel versus Deathwing matchup, which I think both sides will just stick to clearing, and there will not be a lot of killing, as per usual. The offlane is just 2 wet fishes slapping against the wall.
Couple of wet fishes, a little bit of wall.
I mean, Brighton has said it during the Rare Cup, and it's just true. Like, you can't argue with that analogy.
It's a very good analogy. He's very much on the money there with his understanding of this cut, of this role even. Very impactful in the late game in teamfights, but for the most part, a wet fish slapping a wall.
Have our players go and take down the third camp quickly, the quicker you are able to take down the first turret, the quicker you will get the second, the third, and so on. And every single turret taken is a boon for a teamfight, because those actually do quite a bit of damage, and those are actually quite a bit of a hassle to remove, which people usually don't go for. in the lower divisions.
It's very true. Those turrets can be so impactful in fights. If you can get one well positioned, force your opponent to fight into it, it's like having a sixth member dishing out that damage. And although you don't have full control over where it goes, it's still very helpful. But Cassia here might have been caught out by this time trap, and that's going to be first blood going over to the blue team.
And that's one more beauty of what Chromie can provide with those time traps. Just singling out people, putting them in choke points, trying to freeze the backline in time. Or even the front line. You don't need to freeze the backline if you can just freeze the front line and kill the backline yourself, you know?
That is the beauty of stasis. So many different ways it can be applied.
And speaking of places where those things might be applied, we do have our objective number A coming in to play right about now, with both teams going to take that siege camp to set up some split push in the top lane. Sylvanas is joining the Liming as both sides are trying to negate that advantage. Meanwhile, Irel is picking up some stray soak in the bot lane before going to the action in the mid lane, where the will queue is actually cut out and cleaned up very quickly. Very, I mean, sterilely, I guess,
So
because there's no bloodstain.
Nice pick up there for Hype. Just saw that Johanna stepped a little bit higher than she should, picks it up. Rhaegar still hasn't got access to his cleanse or his level 10, so not fully on the power level of a support that he could be, but gonna be interesting to see where that ends up. We have now seen that cleanse come online as they get their level 7s, but Hype gonna just pick up their third turret here, whilst the red team looking to clear out the waves. They haven't been able to start theirs yet, so the advantage will be here for Hype if they move into fight here.
And they do have 2 turrets and a biotic emitter, which means that, honestly, that early into the game, you can just win a teamfight based off of the pickups alone.
Very much so. Yo-Yo Days, though, caught out a little bit here. Is going to go down. The red team breathed on by Deathwing, but not quite enough to pick them off. And they're going to keep tapping this overtime with Johanna and Urel. Are they going to get it again? No, just going to give this Protector over, deciding that they're not really in a position to contest it, and they don't want to lose a player fighting over.
And I'm quite interested to see what people do with the Protector over here, because in the Legendary Cup yesterday, I have seen the team go for the mid wall as well. Usually in the Rare Cup, it is universally understood that you want to go for the top well, because that's the lane where the next objective will be, and you want to make your opponent's life that much harder, because you need to go further to get your HP.
Well,
but in the higher divisions, people seem to change that a little bit.
a nice little trick from Chromie here, knocking the will queue back, jumping out of the Protector, firing at him, and then getting back in. Usually the understanding, I think, when you get higher up is still the same. You still eventually want to take down this well, but you have a lot of time on that Protector, so they can't actually confirm it. It's very unfortunate for them.
And they did not even do any damage to the well as well, because the shielding is so huge after the changes.
It's unfortunate that they weren't able to pick that off, but meanwhile, in the mid lane, pepeMLADY able to just pick up a kill here onto Stukov.
And Yari does actually a bit of a lower level player, and the lag might be a thing as well, because I assume that he's playing from an 8 dealer, losing a lot of HP, actually dying, not being able to proc that ancestral healing blank. The Squishy Lizard was a bad case of halitosis coming up huge in this particular teamfight. The Valkyrie will be dodged by Nox as Cassia goes down alongside the Irel in a different part of the fight, giving the biotic meter to Hype.
The synergy there between that slowing Sands and the Deathwing Q, just ripping apart Rexar Rhaegar. He just taken down his Ancestral, not even connecting in time to keep him alive. And so from there, Hype able to turn that fight around and just carry through into this here healing camp. And they're also going to take this fort up in the mid lane as well. So nice little advantage cemented here for Hype.
And meanwhile, Blank finally finishes out the wall in the top lane before flying up and disappearing from sight. We do have another turret taken by Hype, which makes it 2 turrets and a biotic emitter. Actually 3 turrets and a biotic emitter for them. Very, very solid advantage in that regard. And going to steal the enemy's turret as well.
Everybody gets an item. Wilkie walking through that time trap, and Stukov nicely done there with that wall to deny the Valkyrie. The silence comes down, it's on top of Chromie. She's going to trap herself here now as well, but it looks like she's a little bit deep. Going to have to drop that turret and then try to run through the sands, but Leeming and Rexar are going to be the first to go down, and 3 items have been used in this fight by Hype, so definitely a good fight for pepeMLADY. They've not only got the items, but 2 pickoffs for them as well, onto the Chromie and the Rexar, but Urel isn't done here. She's going to carry on going, and the Wilkie wants to find Nox. Can she get him? No, not quite, and Blank as well. Just everyone able to back out of here, but a nice fight for pepeMLADY. Sees them completely negate that item advantage that Hype have been building up to this point, Yosh.
And the idea was clear from Hype going into that teamfight. They want to take down the enemy's turret to just assert their dominance on the map with the pickups that they have and deny one more from their opponents. But unfortunately, they do get caught out in this particular place, and the slow incensed plus Deathwing's flame breath did not quite work out for Hype, which means that they were left without one of their biggest damage sources and left to get picked off one by one. We did see a very nice pick off by the Sylvanas on top of the Li Ming, but that was pretty much it for the Hype and the teamfight.
Deathwing here just going to be using that flame to zone the enemy team out whilst Sylvanas turns off this tower, and that will be bottom fort going over to Hype whilst the topside protector is picked up.
And bottom keep as well, as they continue trying to base race. You know that her opponent is a little bit busy trying to take the thing, however the Valkyrie connects on Nox. That's a lot of damage put by Stajo into that Sylvanas. Unfortunately, it is not enough, and now we do see that pepeMLADY finally back out. But the wall is already almost dead, however the Sylvanas is gonna get blown up as well as the Rexar as the engage comes out from the Wilkie. And Gore Rider is here to pick up the resets.
Nice try there with the wave of
his next
force.
target. That's a lot of damage. That's not a lot of damage, that's a lot of healing.
Similar idea, damage healing. Nice play there initially from Hype. They got that fort, they knocked on the keep door, but as Johanna spawned and arrived, that Blessed Shield instantly made 2 picks for that Li Ming, able to save the situation for pepeMLADY, and now they are going to be able to pick up their enemy's turret before they step back into the top side and pick up this channel on the objective.
And unlike Hype, who did not really have any type of advantage besides the pickups when they were going to steal their enemy's turret camp, pepeMLADY have won the fight beforehand. They have been 5v3 on that turret camp, and you know you can't really engage 3v5 no matter the situation unless they are not having any HP at all and you have like a Ming or something. But all in all, we do have the bottom fort taken down by Hype. We do have the bottom keep wall not looking too great, and Hype are actually gonna be quite content with what they got. They did not lose a protector, they in fact continue capping that point number B, and they do set up a little bit of push in the top lane as well. However, the engage might be there from the side of pepeMLADY. The time trap connecting with the Stukov, and that's a lot of damage put into him. The blast shield coming out, and Yar does it. Killed once again. Misha's looking to be the next target of the engage as Ancestral Healing comes out on the Li Ming.
Might have been a little bit of a misclick there. That Li Ming on full health, standing next to a half health Urel, picking up an Ancestral. That happens to the best of us apparently, even in the Mythic Championship. But
look, you have to kill the carry, right? And Urel is not going to do anything in this game, obviously.
You know, that's one take on Urel. I am not sure why you have such a hatred of the Space Goat. She can be really quite impactful in a lot of these higher division games, but Li Ming gonna pick off that bear, and now we're just hanging out a bit longer. That protector does spawn here, and time trap gonna just annoy them a little bit there from Chromie, but what are they gonna do with it now is the question.
Well,
as it gets.
The next target on the Rare Cup list checkup of things that you go and take with the protector is that bottom well, because the next objective is bot lane. But as you have said, people are not exactly willing to fight on bottom on capture point number C here in the Mythic Championship. So I think that you might just want to go for some walls. We did see the wall up top go down. We do see the attempt on the bottom wall and even maybe the bottom fort. But the Protector is here alone. And Cassidy is still in the top lane, so I don't think that pepeMLADY can actually take the fight here.
So though, maybe caught a little bit deep. Li Ming and Urel both gonna hit away on him, and Stukov has a big shove there. Cassia though thinks she smells blood, goes in for that kill, and Li Ming will be able to pick up the first kill here. Deathwing now in the backside picks up Li Ming Black, but Stukov going down to Rhaegar in that Protector, and now Deathwing is a little bit deep as well. He's trapped behind the Protector if my mouse goes completely mad. Urel's lovely little 16 there, that Templar's Verdict doing 7% bonus health damage on top of its standard damage is going to seal Deathwing's fate there, Yosh.
And Draxler unfortunately did not quite see Li Ming come in from the sidelines because he died with that level 16, with that ice block, which could have been huge in saving Draxler and denying the resets to the Li Ming. However, that will not stop Hype as they just go for the base race when they see it going up top, taking down the top fort and getting away, pretty much giving the same amount of value as pepeMLADY got from winning this teamfight, besides, you know, not taking the camp.
Nice understanding of the macro here from Hype, using that Sylvanas well to keep the map balanced if nothing else, but unfortunately XP starting to favour pepeMLADY a bit more strongly here, Yosh. It's going to be difficult for Hype to get back into this, although they see this heal camp up and they think pepeMLADY won't be here in time. They want to try and force this fight before 20, and pepeMLADY don't want to give it to them. They're going to give away this heal camp. I like this call, Yosh. No reason to fight. Give your opponents that level 19 into 20 fight. Much better to just back off, give the item, and get ready for your 20 spike.
And I like that call from Hype as well, because they know that their opponents would rather much wait for level 20s and take an equal fight that they can lose and swing the momentum back around. So they just go for that support camp, asking their opponents, are you gonna fight us? Do you really wanna fight us? And the answer is, we don't, so yeah, just take it. I guess we will win the fight against you when we're level 20. Which is a logic that has a little bit of a flaw, and I'm interested to see how Hype will be able to play around that disadvantage.
It's a slightly more elusive idea in the lower divisions. Sometimes the fact that when you have the lead, you don't always want to fight. You'd rather wait till you can have these advantage fights to take your things on the map. But Sylvanas here
has been engaged from Zerel, a lot of damage put into Nox, and the Valkyrie actually misses. We do have the massive shove hitting the Irel straight into the Stone Age as the teamfight finishes up and the board falls down.
This is an important fort to take because it means there's no longer that pressure in the top side when you set up for the long slog that happens around control point C. I imagine we will see both the teams' posture in this portion of the lane here, Yosh, on the bottom side. But the question is, will either team be prepared to step up and fully force onto those conveyor belts, or are they going to feel more comfortable just giving the keep and setting for the next phase?
Well, judging by what I see on the overlays right now, we do see that Hype actually are in a little bit of an advantage because their opponents do not have their ultimates for the next 10 seconds, which is a very small window, but it could have been exploited. Unfortunately, Hype preferring to play a little bit more on the safer side, so I don't blame them too much, but it was a very interesting window to maybe try and exploit with their newfound level 20. Roots are going in trying to scout out the turret and maybe even take a fight, but no, you do not want to fight against 4 people as a sole Irel. I mean, you are an Irel, so you can survive for long, but what are you gonna do, damage?
Well, you know, you can look to try and set up that point if there's still a contest and have your team come and join you, but once the point is captured, there's no real need to force that fight. And the red team just not going to go for it. Urel backing off, and instead they're going to get this position on the point. But now Deathwing coming down into this 1v1 with Urel, and I think that's a 1v1 Deathwing is favoured in.
Is it? Deathwing actually has to set up with his abilities, which take a little bit of a delay before they start doing damage, which means that Irel can actually sidestep them very well, and Irel has that level 16 as we talked about, doing a lot of percentage damage on top of Blank, and we do have the engage in the 4v4 part of the fight. We do have the Roots coming out on Gore Rider, forcing the clans out of the Rhaegar. A lot of damage done by the Q with that level 16 Boar Rider being chased down by the Rexer, who might have overstepped a little bit. Stojo will miss with his Valkyrie once again. Very solid dodges on the side of Hype as they get the initiative. Get that little bit of a teamfight victory with the Cassia kill and get the opportunity to capture point C.
Unfortunately, the Rexar couldn't find an angle to use his Ancestral in that fight though. Both him and Cassia falling quite low, but neither being in a position.
However, trying to find an engage, not being able to do so.
Honeycomb, or Halclum, maybe knocked a little bit far back there by Li Ming. He's going to have to use his level 16 Ice Block here. Still a bit out of position. That turret being dropped by Rexar.
Ooh, and the time trap to keep him alive for just a little bit longer. Is it enough? The Deathwing drops down and it's not enough, sadly. And Gore Rider gets the resets, kills Stukov as well, goes in for a Chromie, gets the kills there. We do see the Sylvanas go down, and that's a 5-man team wipe executed by pepeMLADY.
Nicely
88
done.
to 88 on the point.
And we will hopefully see one hero just take this point whilst the rest of the team push through, open up this keep wall. And the question is, will the blue team be up in time to defend their core? Not even going to take down the wall. This is confidence by pepeMLADY. This is a sidewall call, getting straight onto that keep.
And that's a beautiful comp, because in the Rare Cup, in the Epic Cup, people usually do not recognize that when you are going for the core, you don't really need to take down that wall. You only need to take down a keep, and then you're just free to go and clean up that core. And the quicker you do it, the less counterplay your opponent has, because the shield is already gone, the core is already on 70 HP, and only now the Rexer has spawned. 50% HP on the core, 30% HP on the core, and I think we might be going into game 3.
Does look like this will be a win for pepeMLADY, Yosh, and so as we clean up Volskaya Foundry, it's time to find out what our third map is going to be. This a very hotly contested game in the Mythic Cup finals.
Well, there are a bunch of options, I would say. But I'll be honest, I'm not exactly sure what you even want to go for. Do you want to go for that first pick? Is it even good enough? Or do you want to secure that second and third pick and the map pick as well? That's a big question that Hype have to ask themselves. But if they want to pick a map, I think it will be to the Spider Queen if it's not banned.
I believe it is banned out. So we have Braxis, Alterac, Dragonshire, and Infernal Shrines up left. So some big diversity in our potential third map, which does make that map pick just a little bit more valuable there. Maps that are played out very differently, so depending on where each team feels more comfortable, we might see them choose to pick up the map pick as opposed to the first pick here.
Well, ooh, that's a spicy one, and the ones that we do not see often. And that's also the one that's not in the rotation, as Garden of Terror is picked up by Hype. Yeah, it's not in the rotation, it's not there. But it was an attempt, and I respect it.
It's confusing, because it is, of course, in the rotation for CCL, which some of these players are more comfortable with, and it's the more usual format for some of them. But Heroes Lounge, we have that 10 map pool. We don't deal with that Garden of Terror stuff, and it looks like they will go to Dragonshire.
Ooh, so how do we know? How do we want to do this? I know that you don't like looking between the different places. Do I just set up the camera in the offlane and try to cast it if need be?
Oh, Dragonshire.
Allowing you to just sit in the foreman and watching all of the teamfights happen. Although in the Mythic Championship, the higher we get, the more action there is in the offlane and the more action there is around the map, because the players recognize that a good solo laner should never be left in the solo lane. It should be made an offlane. You have to gank it. You have to force your opponent to just not have a game of 1v1 in which your opponent will be better.
Definitely,
And
you
that's
need
pretty
to
much
find those angles to apply pressure to make that matchup not as scripted as it would otherwise be, because all of these offlaners are so used to the 1v1s at this point that they know exactly what they have to do to get an edge in that matchup. And if you don't add a new factor into that, if you just leave it as is, then it's going to be very difficult for you to win if your team does not have the superior matchup.
Oh. I mean, we have seen a lot of brawly maps, and while Dragonshire is very brawly in the higher divisions, it is not a 5v5 type of brawl. It is very skirmish heavy. A lot of 2v2s, a lot of 3v3s, a lot of different types of 1v2s, 2v3s, and all of those little beautiful stuff that you hate to see as an observer. You like to cast as a caster because there's action happening literally everywhere and all the time.
It's very true. You do see this map is very unique for that. You do see a lot of fights that aren't 5v5. You see a lot of smaller skirmishes popping out. You see a lot of more interesting decisions, and so it means that your draft has to be far more considered, because you have to be able to win these fights depending on what your 3-stack is. You can't have a combination of 3 heroes that won't be able to be effective in these fights, because you'll find yourself unable to apply pressure in areas that you otherwise might want to.
And a 2-minute pause has been called by the will queue, so have to point out that the first pick goes to the side of pepeMLADY, so they get the best pick, and then it's 2 picks on the side of Hype. And not to forget, they also get that last pick, so there might be some kind of cheesy, some kind of cheeky attempts to pick something. Might be Vikings. I have seen a Vikings game yesterday on Dragonshire, and it was a blast to cast, and it was a very interesting watch between all of the teamfights happening in the bot lane and all of the circus music playing in the top lane as Iral tries to chase after Eric and Bailey.
Anyway, I know this is Lounge 2, but I guess there's only so long that I can carry on for. No, but definitely those last pick slots do allow you to secure a winning offlane. More often than not, they allow you to pick the offlane knowing all of the variables in the game, but you can also see these slightly spicier offlane picks like the Vikings, if that's a thing they can pick up, or alternatively some other form of interesting last pick coming up, maybe not necessarily focused into that offlane. If you can pick up something like that Rexar that can flex into the 4-man, depending on how it is respected, Yosh.
Good point. And well, we did see a Rexar already. It was a 4-man Rexar, but picking up a Rexar for the offlane might always be a thing that I'm interested in. It looks like people are back in the lobby, so we might be having our draft start up soon.
Looks like both teams are ready as we come into this game 3, the deciding game of Hype versus pepeMLADY, Yosh. Dragonshire. Let's see.
Let's go. Alright, Blank is trying to open up chests. Oh well. Be right back. Because there's a chest pause, because you can't open up containers while you are doing the draft or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And there might be a little bit of an issue with Blizzard servers. We had one of those last time around. We had to wait for a million years before our first game of the day started on the Legendary Cup, which was quite annoying.
Looks like Blank has DC'd, so a little bit more filler coming out here. Oh, I mean, it wouldn't be a cup day, would it? So I guess, Yosh, in this downtime, it only seems right to talk about what else is going to be happening on our channels today, because this is the only game scheduled for Harrow's Lounge Channel 2 today. You won't see any more content, but over on the main channel right now there is a series going on. I haven't prepped my notes for this though, Yosh. Can you tell me who that series is between?
Ooh, that sounds like a thing I might want to open up the calendar page for on heroeslaunch.gg. Don't forget to sign up for like season 14 because the signups are open for that. While I'm buying for time. Anyway, Disgusting are playing against Diablo Needs Affection on the main channel right now.
Versus Disgusting. That's going to be the other lower bracket quarter-final, semi-final. I'm not entirely sure. I understand what you call them when they become these.
This format is weird.
It's a double elim style where half of the teams have already been elimed once.
And on the other side, we do have the rest of the bracket continuing on channel number 1. Following up with a match between the winners of those two quarter, semi, lower finals. And then we do have Skogsapor versus Hasowinzies every day, fighting in the higher bracket. So,
then of
course, lot of action
the loser of that taking on the winner of the losers bracket, and then those guys taking another shot at the winner of the winners bracket. And if that didn't make your head spin, maybe this little pre-prepared channel bracket that I totally forgot I had till this moment might help you understand it. Look at me go, Yosh. This is the production value that we talk about here on Lounge 2. But that's not all, because next week we have 2 big events coming up on the Heroes Lounge channel 1 as well. We will be seeing on a Saturday the ARAM tournament being played out on that channel. Not entirely confident how much of it will be casted. I believe last year only the semis and the final were casted, as pepeMLADY I think took their way to the final, but I can't remember if they were able to clutch it out. So maybe be seeing some familiar faces there next week. And then on Sunday, a bit of a special, as the Nexus Rumble tournament will be happening on the main Heroes Lounge channel, Yosh.
And you might ask me what Nexus Rumble is, and I will answer. The Nexus Rumble is possibly the most exciting and innovative Heroes of the Storm series. It starts at 1930 CET most Sundays and is a winner-stays-on style mini-tournament, but because of the draw show, the cups and everything else, this week it's December the 13th, so next week Sunday, at 1930 CT. Tell all your friends, tell your friends, tell your friends, moms, sisters, nephews, friends, because the most exciting games are always in the Nexus Rumble, unless we are counting all of the other Heroes Launch stuff. And speaking of, we do have a draft starting, so...
We've had this subtle little segue into our Dragonshire cast. Some nice quality high-value time filling there coming out from Yosh. Thank you very much. If in doubt, read the copy pastas.
If in doubt, just remember who is the best HOTS player of all time. pepeMLADY do get the first pick and they get the first ban as well. We have seen a little bit of a shift between the bans of this team. The question I'm asking is, will the Butcher be banned once again?
I don't know if you can play the Butcher on Dragonshire. I have absolutely no idea. Maybe you can, but probably the Butcher won't be banned, actually, Yosh, and here is my top theory as to why the Butcher won't be banned. If you have a quick little glance at the bottom player of the left-hand side, that is Parnax. He is replacing Blank because his internet cut out or some other unknown technical fault. So, based on the fact that Blank is not in this game, I think the Butcher will go right on through.
Wait, are you implying that players in the Mythic Championship can't play literally every single hero that there is at the top level?
I'm just implying, outside of Blank, no one is mad enough to think the Butcher is pickable.
Oof, got him.
Got him, good team.
You have a Sylvanas ban, and then it's Tank Show as Johanna, EDC, and Garrosh all hit the peanut gallery bench.
Similar rotation to the first time, with Johanna ETC instead of, I think it was Imperius and Diablo, but the tank focus coming out here, trying to make the Wilkew's life just a little bit more uncomfortable, and we're going to see Brightwing being that first pickup, a hero that out of nowhere has really crawled out of the woodwork and become picked in a lot more positions than she used to be, Yosh.
Well, Brightwing has been brought up a lot in the Medallion meta because The medallion meta means that your opponents will be running that much more dives, that much more lockdown, just to try to get through all of those medallions, as well as all of the other PL options. And Brightwing has pretty much a medallion, an AoE medallion on your entire team, so that's quite nice. On the other hand, we do have the Cassia being brought up, but instead of the usual Johanna, we do see an Ana picked, because Johanna is banned, you know.
Unfortunately, they're hype banning out the Johanna, so not able to pair the Blind Sisters. Gonna have to take that Ana instead. And coming out on the other side, Chromie and Diva. And this Diva is very interesting because we have seen a lot of cases of the 4-man Diva or even the tanking Diva coming out on teams when they play Dragonshire. And, you know, to different levels of effect whenever it gets played.
I like the idea of trying to bait hype into trying to counterpick the Diva in the offlane and then bait the switching, but unfortunately, hype do have that last pick. And that variant ban is actually quite funny to me, because variant was not looked at like a good tank in lower divisions at least. He was looked at as a little bit of a meme pick, but with the taunt, with an opportunity to find and engage every 16 seconds on a whim on literally anyone, Varian has been climbing up, and Varian has actually been brought up as a almost solid tier 2 tank in the meta.
With that little health buff, really just gained that little bit of extra survivability that made all the teams look at him and think, yeah, we could run this. But Murden and Leoric coming out on the left-hand side, they want to hide whatever this last pick is, and so Leoric...
Yeah, they want to hide their damage dealer, which is quite interesting to me.
Well, with that Cassia picked up, this third pick could be a whole host of different things, right? Like, yes, it should do some damage, but we could see anything from double support to triple melee coming out here from hype, depending on how they feel, or, and this is a shocking suggestion, it could just end up being Sylvanas again.
Wait, that's not a Liming. That's Lunara, alongside an Anubarak. So, Liming is actually up on the table, and can be a very interesting option. I think that Liming has been considered a counterpick to Anubarak because disintegration ray disintegrates the cocoon. Liming can also do a lot of damage, and we have seen how big she can... Never mind! We do have a Ragnaros. I
think I said something about triple melee somewhere in my big spiel, and triple melee appears to be the way we're going, Yosh.
You have been saying so many different things that I'm pretty sure that everything in this series you have predicted at least once in the span of this cast.
And that is how it works. If you just keep saying stuff, eventually something you say, Yosh, it's gonna be right, and then all you have to do is just clip the good bits.
And that's how casting works. So let's go into that match number 3. Let's load in. Hopefully without any issues, besides me dropping out and joining back up again before the gates open. And yeah, that will be quite interesting. Ragnaros can do a lot, and it very much depends on what do you want to do, because even as a baseline, you can't deny a lot of damage from the Dragon Knight just using your trait. You can clean up the waves rather efficiently, and with level 10, you either get an AoE stun, which obviously is huge, does a bunch of damage, does a bunch of lockdown, and allows you to start that blow-up chain. Or, on the other hand, you pick up the level wave, which can clean up the waves, set up those macro for you, and even do a bunch of damage if you are able to synergize it with an Entomb or maybe some other lockdowns that you have.
But here we are, Yosh. We have made it into this final game of the only series you and I are gonna have the pleasure of bringing today, and gonna go into
a pause because Nox says that they have made a huge mistake. Apparently it's not a Ragnaros, I'm going to assume.
Oh, I see. They're supposed to have switched their heroes, Nox and Hoplite, and they did not. And it looks like pepeMLADY very kindly gonna allow them to make that switch. So
it's going to be taken to the admins, and the referee actually says yes. So we do have our remake.
Well, both teams happy to have that remake, and you know, you'd hate to see it if they weren't, right? Like, I understand wanting to win, but we're not here to take those cheap wins, Yosh. We're here to actually see which team is the better team, which team is going to go through, and both teams comfortable to take that. So, as we take this short break, resetting the lobby, we can have a little think back to those draft, Yosh, because I have very, very cleverly saved those up in a nice little document. So, Murden, Leo, Ragnaros, that is a triple frontline that we can all be scared of.
Murden, Leo, Ragnaros. You know what? If they already have a Leoric, I think that it will have to be the Sulfura Smash. Because you do have enough macro already with you. I'm not sure if you do have a lot of wave clear, but you do have enough rotation between the lanes. You can double soak with the Leoric, you can just pick up some stuff on the side of Ragnaros himself as well. And even without the 3-man or however big your main rotation is, you should be having enough wave clear to justify going for the Sulfura Smash without losing the usual disadvantages of the, you know, big macros that you get with Lava Wave.
That is very true, and this is not a map where you can ignore the top side for too long, because there's that shrine that you have to capture up there, so not necessarily able to take that Lava Wave out where you can on other maps. This is just a repeat draft, but we'll watch it happen nonetheless. We love a good bit of entertainment here.
I think that the teams will try to ban out a lot of tanks. I think the teams will pick up something interesting, like maybe a Murden or maybe even a Leoric. We haven't seen those in a while, and for the last pick, that might be something interesting. There are 3 lanes on Dragonshy, which means that you can clear out the whole 3 lanes, and Ragnaros should be quite decent with it. So I think that might be some things in the draft.
So you think they're going to run triple melee with a Ragnaros, Yosh? That is
Don't be
quite
silly.
the
Don't be
claim.
silly. That will never happen.
Well, we'll see if Yosh is right, chat. Is this going to be a triple melee Ragnaros draft as we
Triple Ragnaros, let's go!
fly through these picks? Brightwing into the Cassia Anna and that Chromie Diva coming out here, Yosh.
And there will not be a Liming. I don't think that's a Liming game. Go Rider has been playing Liming this entire series, but I don't think that's a Liming game.
Quite possibly not. I don't know. Oh, here comes Leoric. So one of your 3 melees has been locked in here, Yosh. We're getting there. And the Ragnaros coming out. Yosh is an absolute maverick. What a drafter. And Anubarak Lenara, the instant response to this. Wow, these
Not
guys.
picking up the Liming. Oh my god.
And the Muradin. Oh, I love me a little bit of the angry dwarf. And this time, are the players going to be able to play their own heroes? What do we think?
So many cheeky snap picks from the team, so much on the feet thinking, and maybe a little bit too quick, not realizing what are they actually going to draft, but oh well, it happens.
They're ready for this game, as I need to make sure that I have the right heroes on the Soothsayer.
Are you ready for the game, Luca?
Anna, Leoric. That was the swap. Okay. Okay, so they're putting their NA carry onto this Leoric whilst Nox gets to play some Anna. So,
you know why? Because the Leoric have been dying a lot in the Volskaya game, so they put him on a character where the death is not that much of a setback.
Oh.
Anyway, on the left, we do have Hype with Nox playing Anna, Halcyon 4B1B on Cassia, Lopaka picking up the Ragnaros, Parnax as the Murden, and Yaridaza, the mysterious carry from NA, playing as the Leoric.
That is indeed what we have, Yosh. And on the red team, pepeMLADY. We are going to see the Wilkyu on the Anubarak. We're going to see Urtsu on the Diva, Dilla on that Brightwing, Goride on his Lunara, and Stojo on the Chromie.
And Dragon Shy, so action will be starting pretty much instantly. A little bit of a brawl early on, but you know we're waiting for those 2 minutes before the altars activate and the action really starts happening. Lunara trying to put some damage into Parnax, but quickly realizing that maybe diving a little bit deeper than she should and just going back to the mid lane teamfight. Lunara does not strike me as the best character to have, but you do have a lot of poke with the poison and you can be quite annoying, especially in trying to deny those altar captures.
That high mobility that Lunara has makes her so difficult to take down though, and so you get a lot of free damage in these 2v2, 3v3 skirmish fights where eventually your opponent just has to back up and walk away, but a true man of culture here, Parnax. Level 1, taking that Stormbolt quest, doesn't care about those survivability talents. He knows what he wants, and he wants to deal more damage, but
Speaking about people of culture, the Wilq actually recognizes that Holopaka will just rush the Bruiser camp as quickly as it spawns and goes and checks on it, prompting a 3-man rotation up there. Unfortunately, everyone on the red side is not able to commit because people are taking siege camps or something, wussies. And that Bruiser camp will get taken down by the blue team after a little bit of a delay, but will be taken down nonetheless.
That is nicely done at the start here. The camp trait, and Ragnaros gonna instantly pop his trait to get free clear out on this
That
camp.
is early. That is so early, but on the other hand, it is a little bit of a bad because Hype knows that in the Mythic Championship no one takes the Dragon Knight early. Taking up the Dragon Knight early is what happens in the lower divisions usually because the teams are not as good at recognizing where they have to be or how they have to play to deny those Dragon Knights. And in the high divisions, people are just so much better at countering that.
Nice little early bit of pressure coming out here, but now we see the top lane, not a lot of damage done by that camp, and pepeMLADY have now been able to set up camp pressure.
Holopaka losing a lot of HP is there. Gore Rider gonna get blinked on by Brightwing before continuing to run down. This time around, it's a Cassia who takes the damage and the polymorph and the death as well. That's a quick 2 picks by pepeMLADY, and Lunar's damage is coming up big.
Nicely done there by them, and now the red team are going to be able to walk down onto Parnax. Nice little sidestep on the Wilq's engage, but Lunara just going to step up and take away this siege camp, but Ragnaros is coming, and Muradin has jump up. I'm not entirely sure Ragnaros was watching his rotation there though, as he walks into the face of the Lunara, but
Muradin's jumping in.
doesn't want to give this up. Does he, Yosh? The damage coming through, and will they be able to hold this point?
Now
in the
you
choke?
see the Diva will show up quicker because she has all of those mobility downs, but it is not enough because we do see pepeMLADY drops engage there. So in the end, the camp will get taken by the team in the blue.
Nicely done there by the blue team, able to hold on to that camp. Muradin with such a high health total that he's so difficult to bully off of these points. Nice sleep as well there coming up from Adam, making sure Muradin can stay safe. And the Wilq falling so low here, but his Beetle tanking that Anubarak, that Muradin Stormhammer, and he's going to be able to survive, Yosh.
And that's why you don't pick the Liming, because Anubarak counters Liming, because all of the little beetles means you can't even push the damage through. Right?
Aye, so
They actually have a little bit of a synergetic relationship
there's
with
a
each
very
other, but
interesting interaction between the drafting of those two heroes, as Cassia just able to walk away, and now Muradin, will he be so lucky? The Stormbolt not able to connect as the Wilq going to channel through that.
Halcyon not going to timeout, because we do have Nox there, and Ana surprisingly provides heals. Because
Priring maybe falling a bit low here. Oh,
I mean,
gave it a shot, didn't he?
I understand the plan, like he tried to delay the back of Halcyon as far as possible, but in the end he took like 5 tower shots too many and was forced to back out himself. We will have the engage from Hype on top of the siege camp of pepeMLADY, and this time around they will be able to take it, but will there be enough counterplay for it? Holopaka losing a lot of HP, dying out. We do have the Dragon Knight, however, taken by Hype 5 minutes into the game, almost exactly, and just gonna go take down part of this wall. Early Dragon Knights don't matter much because, you know, scaling and something balance, something comeback mechanics, 6.5.
But they do give you the ability to open up the map. They make map control a lot easier to secure in the mid game when you take out these walls, because your opponent's distance to safety is just so much further than your own. But here we see the Wilkie able to, not the Wilkie, we see the Muradin able to take out that fort wall, but he is going to have to leave now as the red team are converging onto his Dragon Knight. That Q not connecting onto D.Va, unfortunately, but down here, Brightwing, falling so low, but the peel from his team is going to be enough, and I think Cassia might be just a little bit too deep here, but she wants to try and get this kill on Lunara. Always forget how much bloody damage Cassia can put out, don't you, Yosh?
And I have to point out that once again, this is a quite interesting decision from the side of Hype sending the Dragon Knight into the mid lane. Usually people put it down the bot lane or the top lane with the team, but this time around the mid lane is going to be the choice for all the Mythic Championship teams.
Speaking of interesting decisions, D.Va has gone for that bunny hop talent, Yosh. That is...
And Lunara has gone for the death talent, which is obviously suboptimal. Dealer is gonna get stunned and is going to get focused down as well, as pepeMLADY are in a little bit of a backswing. Yar does it, trying to find a kill there, but Time Trap will save the D.Va for the time being. The mech is exploded, the little D.Va jumps out. Parnax not being able to get enough damage in. Ay.
80 health, I think, on that baby D.Va as she walked away, but nicely done there by Hype, turning that fight around where they lost the initial kills, and they're going to be able to walk it into some damage onto this mid lane tower. That Muradin just throwing his sledgehammer Qs out at buildings whenever he gets to the window, trying to slowly whittle them down.
And I love that idea of a sledgehammer on the Muradin, just bringing up a lot of siege damage to that roster. We do see the Sulfurous Smash as well, opening up that combo potentials that we have been talking about earlier. A lot of lockdown is on the side of Hype, which is why Lightning Bolt, Ball Lightning is going to be the choice for the Cassia, not willing to pick up any more lockdown because you already have so much.
Well, that Valkyrie is going to be very hard to get too much value, as Lunara can always jump out, Brightwing can always blink out, and so D.Va, if she's not already in your face, something's going wrong with her. Nubarak, similar logic. It's only really the Chromie you can look to catch. She's probably going to be too deep, as Anna might actually be able to walk out of this. Lunara maybe jumping too early.
Blink Doom right on top of Gore Rider, and I think the Chargers of Leaping Strike are not here to disengage, but the Doom runs out eventually as there's not enough damage follow-up. However, the engage is now on top of Stojo, who presses the timeout to keep himself alive for the next 5 minutes. 5 seconds before eventually not dying because the team is here to save. What?
Nicely worked there by pepeMLADY, able to rotate in, get there before their enemies, and Lunara though might have dived too deep here. She's going to fall really low, is going to drop, the mech is down, and I think the pilot too. No, Brightwing just going to be able to save her, and the stuns come through, but I don't think there's going to be a kill here anymore for Hype, although Leoric is respawning, Entombs up in 1 second as well. He's got this Wraithwalk. Where's their target going to be? Looks like they aren't going to find one, but Wilkie going to drop anyway on that Anubarak.
You know, when I was talking about non-stop action all around the map, I meant several different teamfights breaking up in the bot lane, in the top lane, but instead, all we see is one big teamfight moving all across the map as the players just keep brawling each other to death sometimes. And it's actually quite an interesting way to play this map. It's a way to play this map that I have not seen much in the higher divisions, and is a way to play this map that I can relate to a lot better.
Well, we all love a good 5-man deathball, don't we? As Muradin gonna take some damage here, but is gonna be okay, it looks like.
Meanwhile, up top we do have that Leoric versus D.Va matchup, which I don't think either of the White Fishes is going to slap hard enough in this particular fight, but we do have the Sulfurous Smash missing on Gore Rider. However, the damage is coming out. It is not enough.
Timing just not quite there on Sulfurous Smash. Gore Rider just able to get that leaping strike off with the Unstoppable before it connected, and through that Brightwing spell armor, her health didn't really drop that far at all. But now the engage comes out, the cocoon onto Muradin, but he will be able to pop almost as fast as Cassia herself pops. The kill going over, and now looks like the red team are going to get this bottom fort. But up in the top side,
realizing that they have 4v3 in the bot lane and going for the fight, but the 2v1 will not work for the D.Va as she falls down in the top lane. There's the non-stop action all across the map that I was talking about. We do have Go Rider and Stojo running up to try and find something. The temporal loop is timed out perfectly just to keep Daza looped back into the action. And Stojo picks up the kill. And Brightwing dies. Yes.
Everyone's dying, Yosh! Everyone's dying!
I mean, that's how nature works. Who wants to live forever anyway?
In the words of Queen. Nice E there from the Wilkie, as if that Muradin stun had connected, he would have been hit by the smash as well, and that might have been the end of him, but instead just able to nope out of that one. Now Chromie, though, falling really low. Will her team be here to reinforce by the time the time trap is over? Looks like they will be. She's going to be able to just slowly slide away from this one, Yosh.
And we are in equilibrium yet again as Daza is retaking the ultra up top as the ultra down bot is retaken by pepeMLADY. And that is something that I would have expected to see from a Mythic Championship game on Dragonshire. People rotating around, brawling here, brawling there at the same time sometimes. And no one taking the Dragon Knight, but we do have the temporal loop, we do have the engage, and Cassia will definitely miss the medallions a lot as she dies again.
Nice cocoon there coming out from the Wilkie.
Ooh, the Sulfura Smash right on top of Stojo. That's a lot of damage, but unfortunately that's not enough of a stun yet to pick up that kill. Sorry.
I was going to say nice cocoon coming out from a Nubrek onto the Ana as they loop that Cassia, so there isn't that Ancestral to come down on top of the kill target, allowing Cassia to pop a lot faster even with all of that armor. But now that blue team going into fight again, recognizing D.Va has rotated topside, backing themselves in this 4v4, but those time traps denying Ana's big heal there is going to make this fight very difficult for them. Chromie's damage is coming out, but not quite enough. Leoric now going to be the first to fall though, and Muradin is going to try and land that stun. It's not going to go through, and the red team will be able to pick up this Dragon Knight, Yosh.
And Go Rider showing us how to play against the 3 melee team. He just kites them low. Lunara leaping around, doing hippity there, hoppity there, and just spraying out the damage all across the enemy team. We do see the D.Va doing a bunch of damage to the wall in the mid lane, but losing a lot of HP in the process. Molten Core used by the Ragnaros in the mid lane to try and do some damage to the bot lane where the push is happening from pepeMLADY. Ooh, that Sulfura Smash almost hit on Stojo as he seems to be the main target. The Cocoon comes out on Go Rider and the Entomb is very solid. Actually catches a lot of people there. Stojo gonna get blown up by the Ball Lightning Dealer, looking to be the next target as the Brightwing blinked on top of the Cassia but was not able to save anyone really.
Nicely done there again by the blue team, using that Ragnaros trait to keep people dismounted, and then the Muradin flank and the Leoric Entomb allowing them
and
to just
then
dive
going
straight.
for the structure trade because we do have the Dragon Knight up top pushing down. The blue team recognizes and just takes down the fort in the bot lane and going in for a fight and even the fort in the mid lane maybe. Go Rider gonna get slowed a little bit, gonna get chased by Daza. Halcyon is there as well, Leaping Strike out. And Lunara gets off the property.
Looks like she's going to be okay here, although I think Ragnaros might be able to interrupt this back. Yeah, he will deny the first one, but that will be all they can do there as Muradin coming in down towards this bottom side, just trying to get a bit more damage out onto this fort.
On for a Dragon Knight taken by the red team, that does not feel like enough impact.
No, it was a very nice fight where when they chose to split the Dragon Knight using that Ragnaros that reduced the impact it had, but they still managed to get that top fort out of it. It's the end of the
Stojo's going to time out of the Sulfura Smash as the teamfight continues. I'm sorry for interrupting you too much, but the action is just never ending on Dragonshire.
non-stop fighting between these two teams, as both of the comps have some really short cooldown ultimates coming out. Sulfurish Smash only 60, and Tomb I think only 50. Then on the other side we see that loop again on that 50-second cooldown there. Engages not really taking that long to come back, and even some of them with the Muradin jumps not needing the ultimate to engage at all, so fights popping out as soon as the players can respawn in a lot of cases. And in this top side we see Leoric just pushing the lane out, going to have a big bank of ranged minions firing against this fort as D.Va has to walk up to try and clear those out.
And all of this chaos benefits Hype because they get level 21 level ahead of their opponents, and that's actually a very big window that they can use to look for opportunities, particularly for that keep. So that is something to look at, especially with the ultra spawning in, which means that pepeMLADY have to choose between the bot lane or the altars, or whatever else is happening. The Molten Core is used by Hlopaka, the Sulfur Smash will miss, but that will not stop the engages as the damage is coming out. Bird alive, use on top of the Brightwing and the Anubra, who the Brightwing jumped to, both of them will be annihilated. Gorider losing a lot of HP there, but putting a lot of damage into Halcyon and Nox. Ana continuing to heal out her teammates. And that is a very clean level 20 versus level 19 fight by Hype. They just use the Molten Core, use whatever they have, and get this teamfight win. And because those ultimates are on such a short cooldown, it doesn't even matter much when pepeMLADY get it back themselves, because their characters will respawn later than those ultimates will go off cooldown.
That is very true, and it looks like with these kills we're gonna see the Dragonlight picked up, and so this will be able to run down the bot lane and confirm that keep. And the only real question is, how much further can they go with it? It looks like they're gonna have a little go here at a fight, trying to get someone caught with that Muradin jump stun, but they won't be able to connect it. And now walking around towards that keep with the Ana in the protector, they have to care about Lunara's damage a little bit, because with the 20 it will definitely begin to heat up. But
and Ana taking up the Dragonite means that Hype are definitely just trying to all in here, because without the healer you can't really teamfight for a long time, so you need to find that explosive engage, you need to find that blow up, or you need to just close out the game before your deaths matter. Frankly, we do have another Molten Core, we do have another Entomb, and Lunara is blown up as well as the Brightwing yet again. And we do see that the engage of Hype is working out. Stoju is gonna get yeeted out. The Will Q will lose a lot of HP thanks to the Molten Core, which just runs out. No. Hlopaka continues seeing in the Molten Core. I'm sorry. However, the Dragonite is blown up, and the core did not even lose a lot of shielding there, but the engage is coming out from the Will Q on top of the Ana, trading himself for that healer. Chromie is killed as well, and that's a 3v1, and that is actually can be just a core attempt right here. Not looking at Rudzu too much, however. Gonna try and poke out the D.Va just in case. Have to dodge out those stunning boulders, I guess, from the core, because the 3-second stun is actually a lot, and Hlopaka losing a lot of HP here. We do see that Yardaza is back up and can start, taking damage from the core. The Entomb will miss, but it doesn't matter because the shielding is down and the core is now at 50%, and I think that might be a game win by Hype.
GG, well played there by Hype, Yosh. What a nice little series. It was very close, but in the end, not able to go the way of pepeMLADY. Hype just able to close that one out for themselves and bring themselves on for a chance to compete against the winner of the team in the Lounge 1 game.
We saw some beautiful stuff from the side of pepeMLADY, but this is why Leoric is great. You get level 20, you get your Buried Alive, and then you just press the Entomb, and everyone who is in the Entomb will die. You can't really get out of it. You can only be saved by someone out of the Entomb, which unfortunately Brightwing cannot really do, because Brightwing has to blink on top of someone, and that means that Brightwing blinks into the Entomb, and that means that Brightwing dies alongside, which we have seen time and time again. So very nice play by Hype, getting themselves through the early game, through the mid game, where they have actually got a lot of problems with the draft. but got themselves to that level 20 and then just annihilated their opponents.
Was very nicely done by them indeed. That Ragnaros combo with the Leoric, so strong, as it allowed them to get those big blobs on anyone they could catch in the Entomb. That Sulfurous Smash almost always connecting on the target, and into that Chromie, it allowed them to get a lot of guaranteed engage. I really liked how they played that triple melee dive with the Leoric and the Muradin. Yosh.
And Hype will get rewarded by their good play, knocking out the number 2 team in Division 1 this season, as pepeMLADY are left to sit, wait for another season, and maybe try again in Season 14. And Hype are gonna move on, fighting against... I don't know, the winner of... Okay, fighting against Disgusting on channel number 1 in Soon TM.
In Soon TM, and that is all you are going to have, I'm afraid, from Channel 2. So Yosh, it's been an absolute pleasure casting with you, and thank you to everyone in chat who has enjoyed this game. But it's goodbye from me, goodbye from Yosh.
Have fun out there, it is mandatory after all.
It is indeed. Good afternoon, everybody.